Hello, and welcome back to City Skylines Pittsburgh. In today's episode, we are returning to the north side of Pittsburgh to build the historic Mexican War Streets neighborhood and completing some high detail builds like Randyland along the way. I'll also be showing off a few teasers later in the video of how I might plan to revitalize the area by introducing some new transit options. But before we cover all of that, I'll be taking on one of the largest and one of the most complex procedural object builds for the project to date, the Allegheny General Hospital. While I build the Allegheny General Hospital, I wanted to take some time to talk about the project and what changes I might make in the future, both in the city of Pittsburgh and how I present everything on YouTube. This episode is the second episode where I decided to start including some teasers or hints at what I might like to accomplish in part 2 of the project. If you're new here, I'm recreating the city of Pittsburgh as close as possible within the game limits in order to simulate what positive city planning changes could bring to the city. Pittsburgh was always my first choice, and a perfect candidate for my channel theme of Rust Belt City revitalization, because it's a city that's seen major changes during the fall of industrialization, as well as through urban renewal, making it an extremely car-dependent city. If you ask the locals, you'll find a lot experience issues with the traffic and the dated infrastructure around the area, but locals will also praise the limited public transit scene. A really popular choice of transportation in Pittsburgh is the trolley, or the light rail line known as the T, but currently it only serves a few select neighborhoods in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, bringing residents to downtown. Later in the project, I have plans to extend this mode of transit to include more than just the South Hills where it currently serves. And ultimately, I think it would be cool to see the trolley service in Pittsburgh return to something more similar to the service map seen in the early 1950s. Before urban renewal and bankruptcy problems saw their removal. Back when the historic trolleys operated all over Allegheny County. This is obviously a hypothetical scenario, and I'll save this toward the end of the project when I want to experiment with more radical changes to the city. But first, I want to base my changes off real-life city planning improvements proposed by Next Transit. The 25-year plan by Next Transit has some interesting proposals to bring positive changes to the city. So in this project, I'd like to see how some of those would play out. Additionally, there are a lot of revitalization projects already underway in the city, like the Lower Hill District developments and the new projects planned for the future, like in the Chateau neighborhood. Seeing these changes in game I think is something that will be unique to see, and I look forward to seeing what's successful from these. As for traffic and improving transit, I do want to follow along with Next Transit's plans, but there are some hypotheticals I also want to answer, and some more radical changes I'd like to test out as well. Some plans I have include changes like freeway removals, or road diets to help curb some of the local car dependence, to be replaced with additional transit options and opportunities. Basically, the goal here is to make it so that more trips can be completed conveniently without a car, ultimately lowering dependency on that mode of transport. Other ideas that I had outside of the Next Transit proposals include extending the T into the north side, using the not often used HOV right-of-way inside of I-279 North. I also discussed capping a portion of I-279 in the last episode with a freeway cap park. Other ideas include looking into extending a new T-line into the Strip District, Lawrenceville and beyond. I also want to look into extending the T past the final Allegheny stop in the north side to connect some of the new planned developments happening there. I talk about this and a lot more in the recent live stream that I did over the holidays. I originally had planned to build the waterfront shopping center on stream, but I quickly found out that it was a lot more fun to interact with the community in chat, giving a live city tour and some Q&A on the project. If you want to learn a lot more about what I'm doing with this project, as well as see some parts of the city that have rarely been shown off, including a few Easter eggs, I definitely recommend checking that live stream out. But since this video is about the north side, and more specifically about the Mexican War Streets, let's talk more locally about this area. I was recently inspired by this Alan Fisher video on Philadelphia, and saw some similarities that it showed to the historic areas of Pittsburgh. I think that trolley buses could be a good solution here, as they are more flexible than light rail and are able to navigate the more narrow streets and obstacles like parked cars better than street-running trolleys. They also come with the added benefit of being more environmentally friendly and energy efficient than diesel buses, while also avoiding the cost and the inherent problems involved with battery electric buses, like the resource cost and charging issues. I show off some teasers of these changes later in the video, but let me know what you think. Are you a fan of trolley buses being introduced here? Let me know in the comments below. Another way to have your feedback heard and get more involved in the project is through the Discord server. I created this server for the two projects that I'm working on so that I can update and interact with the City Skylines community and the local residents, but it's grown into so much more. Now, you can find over 300 members in this growing Discord community, including other YouTubers and Twitch streamers, as well as some popular asset creators and modders. It's a great place to ask questions, get advice on City Skylines, or share your own City Skylines builds. You can join today with the link in the description below. Finishing up the Allegheny General Hospital here now, I'm working on placing some additional parking and these doctors' offices seen around the main tower. These generic offices work great here, and procedural objects helps me to be able to make the buildings look just right. As you'll also see, I do some light detailing around the courtyard and loading docks as well here soon. Heading over to the core of the Mexican War Streets neighborhood now, I'm working on these dense, shaded, narrow residential streets lined with historic row homes that the district is known for. To build this neighborhood, I'm using these row house assets by Smiley's, Chrysler, and Dudemeister. And with the help of Google Earth and some helpful dashcam footage from my Discord member KZ, I'm trying my best to recreate the feel of these historic streets. At the moment, I'm not really focusing on the details, but rather just getting things placed down to get a good feel for the density of the neighborhood. As you can see from the real-life footage, this neighborhood has these narrow streets with parking on each side, leaving just enough room for a single car to pass through the street. This is pretty common for Pittsburgh, and in some areas, you'll actually see residents parking on the sidewalks to make more space for traffic. You'll also notice the historic row homes making an appearance here as well. Most are red brick, but you'll also see some that are painted these really eye-catching, bright, and fun colors as well. Over on Samsonia Way now, I'm working on the second high detail build for this episode. This is the Mattress Factory Museum of Contemporary Art, and this is an immersive art house that features rotating, site-specific exhibitions. Since opening in 1977, the museum has featured exhibitions from over 750 different artists. In the top right, you can see I'm showing off just a small sample of these 750 exhibitions that have happened in the past. But this museum is very unique, and it seems like a must-see attraction for art fans in Pittsburgh, in my opinion. I haven't gotten a chance to visit myself yet, or to explore much of the north side in general, but I hope one day I can get a chance to visit this unique location. And speaking of unique locations, I couldn't cover the north side of Mexican War Streets without talking about Randyland. The featured build for today's episode, Randyland is something I haven't really seen anywhere outside of Pittsburgh before. Another major attraction for the neighborhood, Randyland is located just down the street from the Mattress factory on Arch Street. Described as an open-air museum or art studio, it really is unmissable from the residential streets surrounding it, and it is no doubt the most colorful attraction in the city. You'll see me now heavily modifying this commercial wall-to-wall asset by Smiley's, adding some additional windows with PO, reshaping it, and recoloring it with the text customization tool as I prepare it to become this colorful attraction. Randy Gilson, the man behind the art installation, has built it from the ground up since 1995, filling the area with various bright and colorful items. In-game, it was a really fun build to try to take on as well. I went the extra mile here and actually grabbed the real-life mural from the building using Google Earth and GIMP, and then I imported it into the game with procedural objects. I'm showing off some of that process here, but let me know in the future if you'd like to see a tutorial about this. Knowing now that you can grab real-life images with procedural objects and import them into the game, it's kind of a game changer for one-to-one builds like this. I tried initially to use a few different murals that I found on the workshop, but nothing can really replace the real-life example. Since there's going to be a large amount of varied assets I'm using here to detail Randyland, I'm not going to be able to call them all out in the text below like I usually do in my videos, but I hope you enjoy the time-lapse of this detail build as I had a lot of fun with it. As I complete Randyland by detailing the finishing touches, like adding the name on the front of the building, I'm going to show off a few more teasers of what kind of revitalization I might bring to this area in the future of the project. Moving on to an area a bit south of the Mexican War Streets, this neighborhood is sometimes known as Allegheny West. This is where you can find major avenues connecting the north side from Route 19 in the southwest. It's also where you can find some more industrial uses, as well as commercial developments like those seen on Western Ave. Western Ave is home to the Pittsburgh famous Pepe's Sandwich Shop, as well as a few other local small businesses and restaurants. In just a few moments, you'll see how I heavily detail Western Avenue to finish off the episode. With this street finished, I'm actually very close to completing the north side of Pittsburgh in this build. I still have the Chateau neighborhood and the North Shore left to complete, but I'm going to save those for another time. Stick around for the final cinematics at the end of the episode, as I also show off the off-camera portion of the build. It was too much to include in this video, but off-camera I completed the remaining residential areas of the north side, with neighborhoods like Manchester and the old Allegheny Rose Historic District. I also completed points of interest like the aviary and the Allegheny Commons Park area,